Dear fellow geeks and geekettes, I have came for you to help you prepare better for Heart of the Swarm, and for now, when the game is still a month away, even more than a month and 3 days, but the month is February, so it's shorter, so technically speaking, we are still 1 month away from the launch. Anyway, enough about that rant. What I am about to say, what I am about to reveal to you, is one of the awesomest builds a Terran can have for ladder play, currently in Heart of the Swarm beta. I'm not a judge of that, but it seems a lot of people are thinking that the Hellbat drop is the overpowered way to play Terran, and that works equally as good for other Terrans opposing you, or Zergs. Slightly less for the Zergs though. So anyway, I'm about to show you how to perform a perfect and the fastest Hellbat drop you can perform on ladder while playing up against someone else. And then at the end, we will also think about how to potentially counter it, because right now that's a topic of very heated discussions. People just don't know how to play against Hellbats, and we'll be exploring a couple of different options. And also, we'll be trying to wonder, where did my train of thought go? So I hope I remember that by the end of the show. Okay, it probably wasn't that important if I forgot about it. Anyway, let's jump into the game itself. Boing. The game I'm about to show you guys is the game from the last Jägerlich Master Cup, a game between Dystar, who spawns here in the bottom left corner, and also a game between, you know, Turek spawning as the blue Terran on the other side. So let's enable the music, which is always a problem. Yeah. And let's go with the build. So first, let me give you a quick summary of what this is. A quick summary would be that the Hellbat drop is something you play from one base, and then you basically are hoping that this Hellbat drop deals enough damage to completely stop your opponent in his tracks. After the Hellbat drop, after it happens, you're just hoping that he won't manage to stand up on his feet again. If you fail at that, then probably you have lost the game. But if you hit the Hellbat drop, that's an instant GG around 6-7 minute mark. Okay, so as you can see, Dystar here, and we'll be following Dystar, is starting with a supply depot. He doesn't bother putting it on the ramp, which I'm not sure I agree with. But then I can understand he goes for a faster refinery and then Raxes. And as you can see, he does not scout his opponent. In Terran versus Terran, what people have learned to do is just to block the ramp with 2 supply depots and a barrack. So that way you can't get an SCV in. Dystar doesn't do that, and it's fine. Probably with the later barracks timing, he wouldn't be able to make that happen. But hey, before the second supply depot, as you can see, this is, you know, what I wanted to stress very hard about this build is that Dystar has perfected it to the level where the Hellbat drop cannot happen any faster. This is exactly the fastest way to get a bunch of Hellbats, namely 4, into your opponent's mineral line, or, you know, around his marines, in the middle of his Zerglings, trying to snipe a queen. Anyway, this is the fastest Hellbat drop, so this build is not very refined in a way that it doesn't really work very well against a hard counter that will potentially happen in the future, because you skip a lot of things. As you can see, we only have 1 marine right now. Let's get to the game itself. We have 1 marine. We have delayed second supply depot, so this is why we don't have this wall off at the ramp. Your opponent will be able to get to your base one way or another, and that's a way of telling this is going to be a very quick Hellbat drop. Then we have a factory. We already have a reactor, second refinery. Okay. And as soon as the factory finishes, it will be doing a nice small switcheroo with the barracks. Yoopty-doopty, hello. Yeah. I like this parking lot space much more. Then we have a starport, two Hellions, very quickly. Now, the purpose of these two Hellions is purely defensive, because when it comes to having the group of units you want, you first need an armory, because armory is required to transfer Hellions into Hellbats. If you don't have an armory, then it doesn't matter if you get the Hellions right now or later. Now, the reason why Dystar goes for two very quick Hellions is, one, he can afford it, and two, he needs something to be defensive. If the opponent would be going for some proxy Raxes, and still Dystar hasn't scouted, so in this build you don't really scout them up. This is so strong, it actually doesn't require you scouting, because it hits the opponent before any of the major other all-ins manage to hit you. Now, this gets us in this weird space where you're just hitting yourself in the face with all-ins, both of you, and you will see how this game goes on. It's hilarious. But yeah, so you skip a lot of things and you basically go for two Hellions just to be more defensive than you would usually be with this sort of aggressive build. After that, we pause the Hellion production. We don't do any Marines. We build an armory. And as soon as the starport finishes, we want to have one medivac. After the medivac, we go for two additional Hellions. We are not concerned with not having them earlier on, since this defense force that we have at our base is pretty weak anyway. And yeah, armory finishes as soon as 4 Hellions are on the battlefield, and we can already morph them into Hellbats, and woohoo! As you can see, a medivac uses the boost right away. This is something I love about the way Dystar executes this. He actually uses the boost 3 times, because this is how many times he manages to head it down. And right, okay, let's pause. So we are at 7-minute mark in the game, and it is very early. By this time, if he would be going fast expansion, he would have trouble to defend this. If he would be going for Banshees, then probably you would win. But anyway, what I wanted to say is one very nice, cool little thing about how Dystar executes this is this triple boost. Now, many people just use the medivac, then they fly away, and just before the medivac hits the enemy base, they use the boost. What Dystar does is he uses the boost right away in his own base. Boom, that's one boost. Then second while he's on the map, and the third while he is at his opponent's base. This is why it hits so fast, and this is why this is the fastest that you could get to the enemy's base, and there is nothing else you could optimize more about this build. You don't even scout, because having a scout on the map and losing it potentially also costs you minerals. So this build is very refined in terms of getting this Hellbat drop as fast as possible. Now, the problem we have right now is Turek also went for a Hellbat drop in this game. So let's jump in. Yeah, Turek also went for a Hellbat drop this game, and even though he unloads it later on, as you can see, 709, a lot later in terms of you know, managing to deal the losses. Already 13 workers lost for Turek, but even though he lands it later, he still manages to kill off Dystar's economy. And that's something that's really awkward about TBT right now. If you both go for a Hellbat drop, it's... well, you can see how this game progresses. Right now, as you can see, there is only one mule for Turek and one SCV for Dystar. There is not much you can do. And Turek is trying to counter Hellbats with Hellions, which is something I really like. Hellions outrange the Hellbats, but you need to be extra careful about the positioning. And most likely, Hellions are going to be maybe not a hard counter, but some way of countering Hellbats, because Hellions have range of 5, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they have a range of 5, and they move a lot faster. They have a bonus to, let me show that to you. They have a bonus versus light units, and a Hellbat is, so it happens, light biological mechanical unit. Now, what I think will happen in course of balance changes is to make it easier for Hellbat defending. They will also be armored, maybe, instead of... and this is actually a nice question. Will they become armored, or will they just stay light? It will have different mechanics in different matchups, because against Protosses, probably Hellbat is going to be armored, so the Stalkers can deal with it as they used to deal with the Hellion. Maybe it will just get its health lowered in a week or two. But for now guys, Hellions may be one of the ways to deal with a Hellbat as a Terran player. Now, you know, this game gets pretty ridiculous. Turek tries to hide his units away, tries to go to an expansion, uses a Viking to land it, he uses all sorts of tricks that he can have. Oh, that wasn't a very good choice of the moment where you can morph your Hellbat. Now, as all the morphs in the game, morphing a Hellbat into a Hellion and vice versa takes 4 seconds. So, doing that on the battlefield, well, yeah. You want to do that before the battle, not during the battle, and this has cost him probably the victory, or at least a lot of workers. So Turek was in a very good spot with having to save all of his workers. A very nice micro, just running away. Now, not so very nice micro, but he still tries hard. And yeah, this game is very awkward, and Dicer doesn't have very much, Turek doesn't have any much, and eventually Dicer wins, and the game ends before 13 minutes. So, as you can see, Hellbat drop right now, well, it's pretty strong, and I strongly encourage you to just go and experiment with it, as well as defending it, because if you just go and start cheesing your enemies on the ladder, they will get all angry and say, "Ah, this is such a stupid game, I'm no longer going to play it, ah!" But then, if you experiment both playing it and defending it from the other side, you will get a better understanding of Heart of the Swarm. Yeah, so that's pretty much it when it comes to the build itself. All the details, as well as the build. If you're watching this on YouTube, you will find the build below the video in the description field. And now is the time for questions from the audience. So I imagine you have been playing Heart of the Swarm. I imagine you have encountered the Hellbat drop at least once in your lifetime. And I kind of wonder, how did you deal with it? Did you like it? I don't imagine you did. But you know, all your thoughts and wishes and so on. A question I kind of expect is, okay, how to defend it. So as I said, when you are playing Terran, people have been trying to do it in 3 different ways, and I'm not going to be the judge of which one is more successful right now, because it's all kind of blurry. But one, you also go Hellbats, and then you defend by transforming them to Hellions, but this is extra micro intensive, so you need to be paying attention to your Hellions at all times, and you can't allow them to use the boost on the Medivac and just drop all around your Hellions, because then you are screwed and you have just lost your units, because Hellions have much lower health than Hellbats. Now, second way is by scouting. Scouting is always awesome, and I strongly encourage scouting in this game. You know, scouting pretty huge in Starcraft 2. Also going to be pretty huge in Heart of the Swarm. Now, if you scout and you see that he only has 1 Marine, or he doesn't have any Marines, he can actually afford this 1 Marine, it's not a problem. Or, you know, you will see 2 Hellions already very fast. That's a bit, and also you won't see an expansion. Right now, that's a big way of telling that he's going for a Hellbat drop. So one other way you can try to defend it is to place a scouting point somewhere on the map along the edges, so you see which direction is the drop coming from. And if you see that, if you have that wisdom of the ages, wisdom of the ancients, that tells you, oh my god, he's going to drop straight into my mineral line. Ah, what do I do? Well, then what you do is you may try to kind of encounter that drop, and you may try to intercept it with the Marines. Also, one kind of weird thing that may actually work is I've heard that someone, quite high level of a player, has went into Marauders. And with Marauders, he had enough health on his units. The units were beefy enough, they were big enough on the map, so they didn't took as much splash damage. And Marauders are also units you can have very quickly. Plus, if you go concussive shells, that's awesome. But then it's kind of playing on the metagame, so if you go quick Marauders and he doesn't go Hellion drops, yeah, that may not work for you. So yeah, Marauders were not very popular in Wings of Liberty against Terran. Sometimes people got just 2 or 3 of them to try to focus siege tanks with them, but that was just a trick. Now, if you go Marauders right away, then that may not be very good for you if he doesn't go a Hellbat drop. Okay, now let me take your questions, guys. Okay, it seems I answered all of your questions. Happy to do so. I'm obliged. Alright, so, you know, this is it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can follow us and you'll be seeing more. Also, a small announcement is that since the tutorials can take quite a while we are doing them live, we'll be also doing a funny series of shrinked versions of the tutorials. We'll be doing a montage of all the things that, or the information that is contained into a tutorial, and we'll be doing a, you know, newsflash-like version of it for YouTube. That will be going live in March after Heart of the Swarm release. Yeah, I'm quite sure that will be after Heart of the Swarm release. So I hope you like it. I hope you like this tutorial. Happy to help. And see you in the second part of today's StarCraft 2 Academy, which will be about creating your own build orders. Pretty awesome.